Guys, this is Sneaky Pete with Sneaky Shoot RPG, where the ones are righteous. You're full of it. Hey, I had done a magic video for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, and I wanted to shorten it and make it a little easier to follow because really it's not that good. And I want to have better content on the channel, so we are going to do another video here. Before we continue, if you find the video useful, please give me the thumbs up down there. Hit the like. If you honestly don't like the video, well, don't dislike it. Just mention in the comments what's up. You know, I like discussing. If you got to dislike it, you got to do what you got to do. Doesn't really matter. Subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, please click the little dinger bell thingy next to the word subscribe, so that way you'll know whenever content is uploaded onto the channel. Share me with your friends. And let's get going. 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons spellcasting. Now, not all classes have access to choose from the complete list of all spells and cantrips, so refer to your player handbook to see what you have to choose from. But there are basically two different kinds of magic, two different categories, I suppose, cantrips and spells. And cantrips, they're easy. They're low level, essentially level 0. They can be cast on demand with very little limitation. They cost nothing. They don't cost a spell slot to be. You don't have to expend a spell slot in order to cast them. Each class states how many and which cantrips you have at your disposal. You need only meet the requirements to cast them, and we'll cover requirements in a very short bit. Spell levels and spell slots. Spells are a different story from cantrips. Spells are each assigned a level, and this correlates to your class's chart in the player handbook as to whether or not you can cast it. In accordance to your level, you will have a certain number of spell slots. Now, what spell slots are the number of spells that may be cast before your next long rest. After a long rest, all of your spell slots become available to you once more. If you cast a first level spell, you expend a first level spell slot in order to do so. Once it is used, the spell slot is gone until after a long rest. Spell slots also indicate the highest level of spell you may cast at any time. If you have first level spell slots, you can cast first level spells. If you have access to 4th level spell slots, that means you can cast up to and including 4th level spells. Now, some spells can be cast at a higher level for more effectiveness. For example, Magic Missile. It's a first level spell, but when cast at a higher level, say 4th level, it adds an additional damage die for each level above 1st level. So you can cast a lower level spell at a higher level as long as you have a higher level spell slot in order to do so. You cannot cast a high level spell at a lower level spell slot. Only at the spell slot for which the spell's level is. If that made sense. I didn't have that in my notes, so I just kind of winged it, as I am apt to do from time to time. Spell and cantrip requirements. We alluded to that earlier, and here it is. All spells and cantrips have a requirement or requirements in order to be cast, and there are 3 different kinds of requirements. There is a verbal requirement indicated by a capital V in your spell's description in Chapter 11, somatic indicated with a capital S, and material indicated with a capital M. If there is a verbal requirement, you must be able to say something in order to cast a spell or cantrip. If you are dumbfounded, if you are gagged, and you cannot say anything, you cannot cast a spell that has a verbal requirement. You must be able to say something. If there is a somatic requirement, you must be able to make a gesture with at least one free hand in order to cast the spell or cantrip. If you are incapacitated in a way that you cannot move your hands, if you are manacled, if you are bound and you cannot move your hands, if you are holding a 2-handed weapon or other item that requires the use of 2 hands, you cannot cast a spell with a somatic requirement. If there is a material requirement, you must be holding the required components that are listed next to the M in the spell's stat block, description, whatever you want to call it, in order to cast that spell or cantrip. Now, if there is a monetary value assigned to the component, for example, one spell I think has a black pearl or a pearl that is worth 1,000 gold pieces. If there is a monetary value assigned to the component, you must have that component in order to cast the spell. Not simply your spellcasting focus or component's pouch. You have to have the actual component in your hand in order to do it. If you do not have the component, or if you've lost your component pouch or your arcane focus and it has a material requirement, you cannot cast a spell. Now there are other different qualifying things for spells. Some spells are known, some spells must be prepared. Some classes simply know spells. They get new spells as they level up, and they just know them. Sorcerer, for example, starts with 2 known spells at level 1 and caps out at 15 known spells, I believe, at level... maybe it's 3 at level 1, but 15 at level 17. So they are going to cap at 15 known spells. They don't have to do anything special. They just simply know them, and they can cast them whenever, as long as they have the spell slots available to do so. Some classes must prepare spells. Clerics must pray to their to their deity in order to prepare their spells, and wizards must read through their spell book in order to relearn a new list of spells for the day. And there is a certain formula for how long each of these classes must take in order to prepare a given number of spells. But that means that they have to, if some classes have to prepare spells, it means they spend time after a long rest to prepare a new list of spells. If the list of spells is not being changed from the day before, then the character does not need to prepare a new list. These classes also generally offer more spells from which to choose. All classes will also state the number of cantrips that you know at each level. We mentioned sorcerers will know 15 spells at level 17. Wizards, by level 20, they start with their spell book. It has 6 spells already in it. Now they can only cast as many spells as they have spell slots for before taking a long rest. But each level, as they level up, they learn 2 more spells that get placed into their spell book. So at level 20, they've got 44 that they can choose from. So there's a lot more. It depends on if you want to know the spells or if you want to have to be able to take the time to prepare the spells. And there could be, I see instances where it might be difficult in order to do so and you're stuck with the spells from before. But you have a lot more spells to choose from, certain classes. Some other things that may be required in order to cast a spell, some other things you're going to find looking up your spells in Chapter 11. Some spells require that you must concentrate while casting them. This generally applies to spells that last longer than have longer than an instantaneous casting time. There might be times in combat, for example, where you will need to roll a concentration check in order to keep the spell active, so that way you're not distracted, or if you take damage or something, you have to be able to maintain the concentration or the spell is lost. Also, if you cast another spell while you are concentrating on a spell already, once you cast the other spell, the concentration spell is over. Now, all spells and cantrips will also have a range, and a casting time, and a duration as well. And these will tell you where you can cast a spell, how long it takes to cast a spell, and also for how long it will last. Spells and cantrips all have a description which tells you what the spell does. It is very important for you to know what your spells do specifically. Any questions, ask your DM, but you really need to know what your spells are capable of, how to cast them, when to cast them, where to cast them, whether you need to concentrate. You really need to know what your spells are capable of in order to be able to take full advantage of what your character is able to do. Some spells can be cast as a ritual. These spells all only require an additional 10 minutes to cast and offer bonuses in how they work. Some classes allow you to cast a spell as a ritual without expending any spell slots to do so. If you cast a spell as a ritual, let's say perhaps it will last 10 minutes. The duration may be doubled, so that way it will last for 20 minutes. It may have an area of effect that goes a certain distance. Now it doubles the distance. You have a casting range that you can cast a spell. Maybe it'll double that. Casting a ritual spell as a ritual will increase the way that it performs. Some spells also have an area of effect where the effects of the spell linger for the spell's duration. It may be and most times it's going to have a point of origin, whether a place that you can see that you select, or even from yourself. It might be a line, like a wall of fire, and it will extend from the point you decide 60 feet away. It could be a cone extending outward from you out to maybe 15 or 20 feet. It could be a sphere or a cube or a cylinder that extends from a point of origin out a certain distance, radius, height, width, length, whatever is in the area of effect. And that is listed in Chapter 10 of the Player's Handbook as well. Attack rolls and saving throws. Now each class is assigned a spell casting ability, either intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. The ability's modifier is used in determining attack rolls and saving throws. Now some spells and cantrips are simply cast, like Magic Missile. You just say, and I cast Magic Missile, and boom, target takes 3d4 of plus 1, 1d4 plus 1 damage for each missile. 3 missiles cast at level 1. You just say you're casting it, boom, it casts it. Just saying you're going to do it makes it happen. However, if a spell or cantrip requires an attack roll, you roll a d20 just like in normal combat, because you're making an attack roll. Combat's covered in Chapter 9. You roll a d20 just like in normal combat. Then you add your spellcasting ability modifier. For sorcerers, it's charisma. For wizards, it's intelligence. You add the modifier for that ability. So let's say you've got 15 in intelligence, then your modifier is plus 2. So you're going to add that to the d20. You're going to add your proficiency bonus to the d20. So whatever level you are on that table that shows you spell slots and cantrips known, and either spells known or and spell slots and everything, it will have proficiency bonus, I think, in the second column. You're going to add that as well, and any other modifiers, and you're going to compare that against your target's armor class. So again, you're going to roll your d20, add your spellcasting ability modifier, your proficiency bonus, and any other modifiers, and you are rolling against your target's armor class. In a lot of spells, your target must make a saving throw. This is done by rolling a d20, by your target rolling a d20 and beating your saving throw DC. Your DC is determined by the number 8, plus your spellcasting ability modifier, plus your spellcasting class levels in the spell that you are casting. So if you have, say you're a level 7 player and you have a Wizard 5, Cleric 2, if you're casting a Wizard spell from the Wizard Arcane School, then that is, you're going to be adding 5 for your spellcasting class level. If you're casting a Cleric spell, you would only cast 2. So again, your DC number that your target must match or best in order to get a saving throw success. That is the number 8, plus your spellcasting ability modifier, plus your spellcasting class levels. Example, as we just said, 8 plus your wizard level of 5 plus your intelligence modifier of 2, that is 8 plus 7, that is 15. So your target must roll a d20 as a saving throw and get 15 or better. 15 is the DC in this example. Lastly, we're going to cover schools, magic schools. Each spell belongs to a school or a different area of mastery. And there are 8 general schools of magic. Abjuration emphasizes magic that blocks, banishes, or protects yourself or others from harm. Conjuration is magic that produces items and creatures seemingly out of thin air. Divination focuses on magic that helps to discern things, to view things from far away, to have supernatural knowledge and foresight. Enchantment magic helps its studied mage to magically entrance and beguile others. Magic in the school of evocation helps to create powerful elemental effects such as fireball and magic missile. Illusion magic dazzles the senses, befuddles the mind, and tricks even the wisest of people. Necromancy is a school of magic that involves the forces of life, death, and undeath. And finally, the magic school of transmutation enables the practiced user to alter matter and energy to suit their needs. What is the importance of the schools of magic? Well, each spell or cantrip belongs to the devotion of one of these 8 schools of magic. More than anything, paying particular attention to what schools of magic from which you draw your spells can help you define the kind of spellcaster you are becoming. Clerics might be having abjuration for their ability to heal others. Druids might draw more from the evocation school of magic, as the elemental magic might align itself more towards their nature-bent essence of the class. And moreover, you do not need to be bound by any one school of magic. Mix it up, play with it. Cast the spells you think will best enable you to help your party to succeed. It is ultimately up to you in the end. So that's what I've got for magic. A lot simpler, a lot more straightforward than the last video I did, which hopefully you will never know existed, except I am talking about it right now. So again, comment down below. Anything that you want to add, anything that you want to ask. Welcome discussion, absolutely, definitely. And again, I would like to thank you for watching the channel, watching the video. This is Sneaky Pete with Sneaky Pete RPG. Keep those ones a-coming, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.